Guten Morgen, Klasse, guten Morgen, guten Morgen. Ich bin Herr Dabb und heute ist der 30. Oktober 2020. Heute ist Freitag. Klasse. Heute ist Freitag. Was ist morgen? Morgen ist Samstag. Good. Now, interesting fact down here below, you see that we have what's called a Feiertag. Feiertag. Sounds like a fire day. Kind of. Back when I was a young lad, I used to have big celebrations. We would all get around the fire. We'd have big parties. Kind of like that. So think of it like a bonfire. And a day for a bonfire, which is always a holiday. Unless you start 4 acres on fire. You know what I mean? Hopefully not. All right, so Feiertag is a holiday, okay? Now, there's 2 holidays on the 31st. One of them is Halloween. Halloween is interesting? Yeah, kind of. In Germany, they recognize Halloween as like an American construct. It's there, and yes, people do dress up, and they do party, but more on like Halloween party, like in the typical like Karate Kid Halloween party, the opening scenes of it kind of thing. Like they'll get together and dance and be dressed up and everything. But generally, it's not the biggest holiday. They have other holidays that look very much similar to Halloween, but generally, Halloween is kind of just Halloween, pretty low key. Okay, so the other day that we have down there is Reformationstag. Reformationstag, if you can read in there, it has Reformation. Now, some people may or may not know this, but the Reformation by Martin Luther it was initiated on this day and is celebrated alongside Halloween, which is interesting. But I don't think the correlation there is intentional. It just happens to be there's 2 holidays now on a day, and that's great. Reformationstag is a day that Martin Luther nailed what they call the 95 Theses, which is basically there were 95 questions he nails onto this church in Wittenberg. I've actually been to this church. It's really cool. The church itself isn't particularly spectacular, but the 2 doors on the front are like, I swear they're made out of like steel. And they have there in steel or iron or whatever carved in questions that were posed by Martin Luther to the Catholic Church. Now, Martin Luther, he was a reformer. His goal was not to start the church, but it was to figure out ways. He started asking questions that at the time were considered heretical. And he did not decide that he wanted to start a new church, but he wasn't ultimately persecuted, and there were people, followers of him, that did kind of initiate this Protestant Reformation. And this Protestant Reformation is what led to the Lutheran Church, and the Calvinists. All right, next. All right, we're going to work on our verbs. Okay, verbs are fun, kind of. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes verbict. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so holen. Holen's a pretty cool verb. It means to pick up. So, meine Mutter holt mich. She comes and gets me. My mother comes and gets me. Now, when we're thinking about verbs, we have to think of it like a screwdriver. You know, the kind with the removable tips? Those little tips are the endings. We call it the endings. That EN right there at the end is that removable tip. So it's like the pretty crummy tip that they give you when you first buy a cheap screwdriver. Like, this is okay, but I'm going to need something else. Because not everything's a flathead. If you're still stuck in flathead land, you got a problem. So, you probably have some 2-pronged outlets too. So what we got here is ich hole. Anytime you have ich, the ending is always E. Well, 99% of the time it's E. And we have du holst. Now, again, usually ST. Sometimes EST. Holt, sie holt. Now, that's he gets, or he picks up, or she picks up. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that is also used for when there's like a person, a male, and that male person does something. Say that male person picks up something. Holt es up. Herr Dabb holt den Kuli. Okay. Now, if you have, so that's sie sounds like the word she. So if that sounds like she, if you have one female doing it, like meine Mutter holt mich. My mother comes and gets me or picks me up. So then you can also say wir holen, we pick up. Okay, and this is important because if you include yourself in that group of people, so meine Mutter und ich holen meinen Vater. Okay, so wir is whenever you are included into the group. Then we have sie. Now this is a sie they. You have to be kind of careful. Most of the time this is used when there are multiple people, but you are not included. You're talking about another group. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and erase some of that stuff so that it's not so cluttery. What you're going to do now is you're going to go ahead and do the activity there on the right. Select the correct verb form for each of those words. Or sorry, for each of the links. All right, great. All right, guys, last thing, we're going to review numbers. First of all, we got to look at the numbers and say, wait, which numbers were they? Well, we have 20, yeah, 40, 50, 30, 80, 90. You guys get the idea, right? Okay, 20 I think is the only one that like gets people. I don't know why. It's like easy to remember, but it's also tricky. There we go. So 20. 40 is fear is in there. Yeah, 40 is 40. 50 is 50. 30 is 30. 80 is 80. 90 is 90. Now what you're going to do though is I'm going to circle some of these numbers and you're going to select them and make sure that you know which numbers it is that I'm circling. All right, pay attention. All right, great work, guys. Looks like a wildcat paw. All right, take care.